think let's start with what we saw Friday night. Of course, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Donald Trump in attendance against his greatest enemies. I mean, the press has been absolutely brutal to Donald Trump for his entire political career. Once he came down the escalator in 2015, from Trump Towers. They've been after him, but they've also loved having him. So it's a very bizarre, but at the end of the day, they'd stab him in the back 2 seconds, not a problem. And it was more of a humiliation ritual that what they put Donald Trump through on Friday night. We're going to look at, he actually had to shake hands with the award-winning reporters that did the investigation, did the reveal of the famous birthday card Jeffrey Epstein got from Donald Trump. Now, of course, Trump denied it, sued him for $20 billion, the Wall Street Journal, and said it wasn't his, it's a fake. And if you release it, I'm suing. And they did release it and they did sue. And of course, it was of bad taste, certainly. But I think it just speaks to Donald Trump knows he doesn't have clean hands when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. Not saying he raped a kid, but we're saying he did too much. We just need to know more. And the behavior around the Epstein files is what makes us think, gosh, there must be more to it. Because a completely innocent man that has seen this list, he knows what's in there. He was warned, Pam Bondi verified in front of Congress, not under oath, but in front of Congress, that Donald Trump was made aware of his mentions in the Epstein files. And there's still 3 million files that we don't have. That's against federal law. In fact, a federal judge is attempting to enforce that law. The Department of Justice is saying, we're not releasing them. We've done all we are. And Todd Blanche is trying to get confirmed as the AG, which probably is not going to happen. But under Todd Blanche's lead, there will never be a full release or prosecution of the Epstein files. Can't happen, won't happen. He's been placed in that position to specifically guard the Epstein files. So we have that working. But the Trump dinner, and we'll watch it here in just a moment, is disappointed and frustrated and upset at Donald Trump, as many on the right are, because you switch teams on us. You betrayed so many things. We're still trying to calculate, where did we move the needle for the American people since this second term? We're going to talk about what's coming up next week, too, because we have the Lindsey Graham funeral. And oh, by the way, guess who's in town again? Benjamin Netanyahu, his 7th visit since January 2025. Does that seem excessive to anybody else? 7 visits from a foreign leader? Has President Xi Jinping been here 7 times in his life? Absolutely not. And so we obviously can now see, oh, this is why they wanted the military integration. They're already doing this relationship. And since it's against the will of the American people are rejecting the idea that these two militaries, our great nation, $1.5 trillion a year military, is going to merge with little tiny Israel. And you have to remember, Israel is a country with no resources and a lot of hostility. Okay, they're of course still in the process of removing all the Gazans. They've destroyed it, flattened it, 50,000 children dead. We know about that. We know about what they're doing in Lebanon. Lebanon, of course, Beirut, home of Hezbollah. We can't have Hezbollah or Iran having a nuclear weapon. So they're in there now and still bombing, killing Christians. So we have American Christian Zionists cheering on Jewish aggression as they kill Christians. Now, is it because they're brown Christians and so you don't consider them one of you? What would be the instinct to side with a Jewish assault in Lebanon where Christians are going to die? Christian artifacts are going to be ruined. Why would you celebrate that? We asked that of the Christian Zionists, and we're not clear where they're coming up with their information on how they're called to step on their Christian brother to serve the Israeli cause. It's not biblical, it's not rational, and it's not certainly something that America is still interested in. But there's enough Zionists still holding on. And of course, Washington, D.C. is holding on super tight to the Israeli relationship, and it cannot be questioned. And now they're going to put it into law, which would take a significant act of law to reverse that. It still hasn't been of course, made law. It has to go through the Senate. There's no timetable associated with that. They need 60 votes, got to have 60, not a majority. And so would they break the filibuster to do this deal? Because we said the Save America Act was super important. Save America Act, of course, you can't have mass mail-in voting. You can't be counting votes 7, 8 days a week later. It's deadline stuff. You got to have an ID to vote. You cannot be an illegal alien. In fact, it was just reported over the weekend, 6,000 illegal aliens on New Jersey rolls. And they'll say, well, so what? 6,000. It's 6,000 there. It's 6,000 in Oklahoma, some city in Kansas. It's everywhere. Illegal aliens are voting, and that's why they have to have mail-in voting, or you basically would never see another Democrat elected. I think that's the scary thing for the left, is if there's dare any hindrance to ballot harvesting, mail-in voting, the recruitment, will just run around and scoop up your ballot for, we just need you to sign right here. I mean, it's the end of Democrats. And it's not that Republicans are doing a good job. Clearly, they own Washington, D.C., Congress, the White House, Supreme Court, not getting anything done, not anything that for the American people, other countries possibly, Israel for sure. And we're spending a ton of money, but it's not coming back home. It's going to wars. So people are upset about that, of course. But this dinner, of course, was quite the thing. Let me get us into, and I just want to watch it because I felt bad for him. President Trump doesn't look great. I'll be super honest there. President Trump doesn't really have that same, fight that you might have once got from him. This is embarrassing, though. So let's just take a listen.
And now the Katharine Graham Award for Courage and Accountability. And it comes with a prize of $10,000. This year's award goes to the Wall Street Journal. The Journal's courageous reporting on President Trump's past relationship with financier Jeffrey Epstein triggered the release of the so-called Epstein files, thousands of documents that might otherwise have remained hidden from the public. And despite the president's threat of a lawsuit, the Journal published a story about a provocative letter to Epstein bearing President Trump's signature. Trump quickly filed a $20 billion lawsuit against the Journal, revealing reporter Khadija Safdar's home address.
And look at his face.
Her
Melania
family
was
had to be
not in
relocated.
attendance, just FYI.
The Journal was kicked off of Air Force One, but the reporters continue to file revelatory stories. Please welcome the winners of the Katharine Graham Award from the Wall Street Journal. Khadija Safdar, Sadie Gurman, Annie Linsky, Josh Dawsey.
These are the people
again,
he sued,
Alex Leary,
and
Rebecca
now
Ballhaus,
he has to
and
give him
Ryan
an
Barton.
award.
Their colleague, Joe Palazzolo, could not attend tonight.
So Joe Palazzolo couldn't come. But here's the president. Here's the people that showed the world his birthday card. He sued him, not successfully. And then here it is. Congratulations. Wonderful. Thank you for doing that. Look at it. What am I doing? These people were trying to bury me. And here he goes. This is something else. And they hate him, but they're getting to meet the president. So here they go. And the snakes. This is the most humiliating thing. I mean, I cannot, this is unbelievable. So, for him to have to go and shake their hands and congratulate them, realize what they did, because this sort of propelled some momentum into the Epstein Files Release Act, the Transparency Act. The Epstein Files are Donald Trump's worst nightmare. That is clear. Okay. That is why there's been such a big deal made of it. Okay. I wish it wasn't so. I'm a 3-time Trump voter. I wish it wasn't so. I wish he wasn't protecting his past, his friends, maybe past or current affairs, to keep the system kind of going as is, status quo. Okay. And we wanted the opposite of status quo when we sent him back in 2024, November 2024. You felt like the deep state is in trouble. The swamp is toast. Think about it. He had nothing to lose. Donald Trump wasn't going to run. This talk of 2028 is ridiculous. He doesn't have the health to go on. I mean, I think it's going to be a real struggle. They're reporting a lot of edema. You can see the fatigue, and that skin does not look good. Okay, so he's looking heavier than ever. Now, he had lost some weight. If you remember early in Trump's campaign, 2015, 2016, taking office in 2017, he was heavy. He was chubby. There's no doubt about it. He was famous for the Diet Coke and McDonald's and eating. And he thought McDonald's was a good choice because their standards had to keep the food safe. And he was always paranoid about getting food poisoned or attacked by his food. And maybe that's fair, maybe that's not. But he was in terrible health. And he did lose weight, clean it up for this second term, but it looks like the weight's coming back on. The fatigue is starting to come on heavy. This Epstein thing is just a huge, I mean, it's an elephant on him, a rhinoceros on him, a silverback on him. And it's not going away. It's not going away. The scary thing for Donald Trump is he will lose control of the Epstein files at some point. That is going to happen, whether even if he keeps control in November and Republicans still have these little tiny margins, that's fine. But in 2028, it is going to switch and he will lose control of these files. And if he's in them, he's toast. And if he's not in them, but had a chance to really clean this thing up, change America. The guy who's raping kids, who's also in US politics, is not making policy good for you and me. That I can assure you. And you already knew that. So draining the swamp takes care of so many things, takes care of all the overseas wars, all the neocons, all the globalists saying, nope, we got to, wherever there's a trouble, America's going to respond. And that's why we need the 1.5 trillion for the military each and every year. That is insane. That is a country that wants to be in conflict. 1.5 trillion. Are you kidding me? We shouldn't have soldiers in Japan. We do. Germany, we do. All over the South Korea, we do. And we pay for that. And now we're adding so much more ships, drones, and we're in everybody else's war. So of course we're funding Ukraine, funding Israel in these efforts. And we get like zero out of it, because guess what happens here in America if Russia gets to keep Crimea and the Donbass in Ukraine? Nothing. Nothing at all changes in your life. They tried to tell you early on in the Ukraine conflict that if they take Ukraine, they're coming for the rest of Europe. That's what they tried to tell you. That somehow Russia was going to be able to take on the world by itself. And that's why we must go all in here at Ukraine. That was a lie. And of course, they kept throwing the NATO. We're going to let Ukraine join NATO. And if they dare touch Ukraine, the whole world has to join this thing. And that was a lie. That's never going to happen. But you'll hear on Fox News right now that they say Ukraine's winning the war. Right. And I think that's the opposite, is that we continue to fund Ukraine enough to keep the thing going. And Russia is actually showing incredible restraint on this, because clearly they're a nuclear power. So number one, just so everybody's clear, Ukraine could cease to exist if that's the route Russia chose to take. Clear. They also have, 10 times the man force and military capabilities that Ukraine has. Now, we have to understand that Ukraine is getting US money. They're getting French money. They're getting British money. They're getting everybody's support and help. That's how they're able to do this. We're already into Ukraine for close to $300 billion since 2022. $300 billion solves homelessness, mental illness, neglect. $300 billion put into America, and get the nonprofits and all that stuff out of the way. We clean up streets. We build mental institutions, because our homeless people that are choosing to live on the streets to do drugs and be free, that's not an option anymore. You can't destroy Los Angeles. You can't destroy Denver. You can't destroy New York City with your homelessness. We have facilities that we built for you. We said no to the wars, and we built these hospitals to take care of you, because we have to get you off the streets. Do you see the difference? As opposed to the $300 billion that went to Ukraine, that actually resulted in 1 million dead Ukraine and Russian service people. Now, you tell me what makes more sense with the money. Get our homeless people off the streets and the help they need, and clean up our cities, bring business into our cities, make our cities much more affordable, attractable, safer, all of the good that come with that, or fund more Ukraine and Russian death. What do you think the better use of taxpayer money is? And of course, we know the answer.